Hi, this is Frank Rauscher again. We're going to take you on from where we left off, where we got the beak out. Now we're going to locate the eyes and what I call the cheeks area, which is going to be this area right in here, right here. So let me move the camera down and I'm going to show you how to develop that and the measurements and everything else. And hopefully we'll get the measurements in, and then we'll hope that the video has enough time in it so we can accomplish everything. Okay, so bear with me and be right with you in a minute. Okay, we're back again. Now what we're going to do is I just want to make sure you have that center line going through the head, coming back. Okay, and what I want to establish is on this sheet, we have this curvature of the head here. This outline here is it's just rolling around. So there's two of them. There's one on the outside and one on the inside. And you really see it clear on this one. So what we're going to do, we're going to come back and I'm going to give you a measurement. And this will be like a lay down dimension. And what I mean by that is you lay it down on the wood and you measure from the tip of the beak in. It's not one of my dimensions here because on a lay down dimension, it's like this. And realistically, these dimensions here are looking straight down from point to point, and it is a different dimension. Okay, so what I'm going to give you here is I want you to lay this here from the tip of the beak back, put a dot, and that is 1 inch from here to here. Now, what I want you to do is get your ruler, get one of the inch marks, the bigger slashes, let me get it this way, like this, and put it in line with that center line. Okay, so it's all in the same direction. Then what I'm going to ask you to do is to, from that dot, draw a line perpendicular to this center line like this, and it's going to come over to the edges. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is to drop these straight down, not on an angle, so that if you were holding this bird up like so now, and you're looking straight down on it, you know, it's not totally like flat. This bird is not flat. It's got the tail up and the head's up and it belly's down in here. What I'm asking you to do is look from the top down and drop a line down. I'm even going to give you another dimension on the side in the profile, but I want this perpendicular line coming across. That'll be what we're doing. We're shooting for the eye, the location. And on this side here, which is with the bird facing away from you, it's your left side. If you measured in, let me give you a measurement that way too, it is going to be, let me get a measurement here, of about 1 1/8 right here. So from the tip of the beak in, straight in, is 1 1/8. So if I drew from that edge down where this beak line, remember this beak line we still have, that this is going through the beak and it's coming all the way back. And we also want that beak line, which is perpendicular this way and this way, and you want to check that. And how you could do that is you get your ruler, you get the inch mark right up on it, and when you look down, this line should be on the edge of the ruler, and it's making a perpendicular. It's 90 degrees from here and here. These are all 90-degree quadrants where that beak center is, because it's split and everything. And we just want to make sure we're accurate, okay? So on this side here, I measured 1 inch and 1/8 because it's skewed out this way. This is basically a lay down dimension, okay? I'm laying the ruler down and I'm measuring flat right in against the surface like that, okay? So at this point here, I want you to come up. Let's see, we have a dimension for where the eye is off the beak, and that's 1/8 of an inch. So we're coming up 1/8 of an inch from this point, which is right there, and I'm going to draw another perpendicular line, which is perpendicular to the beak line. And what we have here, we have the eye for the wren is 4 millimeters. So if you go up 2 millimeters and you come out 2 millimeters this way and 2 millimeters this way and 2 millimeters, it should fall, I think, just shy of the beak line down here. And what we're going to do is just draw a circle, okay, like so. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want that bullseye. You want where the crosshairs are. It's very important. And then what I'm going to ask you also too is to draw the line that's 1/8 of an inch up. You can even come down here and measure up 1/8 and then keep on continuing that line just to make sure you're parallel to this one. And that's going to be where the eye is going to be located. Now, we're going to measure from the eye back to what I call this cheek area, which is this area right here. And that's 5/8 back. So from the center of the eye back, we got to measure 5/8. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put my ruler on the line here for the center line of the eye, measure back 5/8 and put a dot there. Now I'm going to, this beak line that we have coming back, I'm going to draw another line perpendicular right through there where that dot is. So from the eye back, it's 5/8. And from the beak line up, it's 1/8, okay, which we said before. Now, if we look over here, from the center line of the eye down to the bottom of this cheek, which is this area right in here, we have to go down 1/8 plus 1/4, that's 3/8. So I'm going to come to the center line of the eye. I'm going to lay my ruler right on the center line of the eye that came back, measure 3/8 down, put another dot, and then I'm going to make another parallel line like the beak line here, back like this. And I'm doing this slightly because I don't want it real heavy, because these are not, what we're doing, we're basically making a rectangle from the center of the eye back, down, back over here, and then back up. This is one big rectangle in here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to round the corners of this rectangle, okay, on the back side. So here I am again. I'm going to come from here, and I'm going to round this. And this will be like a tangent point right here. And then I'm going to round this over to here. Okay, so now we have this same look right here. This is coming out of here, coming around. Now, when we come back up, we want to come back up to this point, which is that 1/8 down on the bottom portion of the beak. We're going to shoot right over to that point. Okay, so now we have the shape of the cheek. We have the eye. Now we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And this one here gets a little trickier, because if you didn't take enough material, or if you took enough material out, we'd be okay. But this is really curving in here. So we're going to have to make some adjustments. But I'm going to give you what I have as a lay down dimension from the tip of the beak to here. It looks like 1 1/16", okay, which is a little bit longer than we had before. And if you check this line, when you look straight down, should come right down onto that, okay? And if you look straight down on this line, it would come down on that spot. So it gets a little tricky, but what we're trying to do is make sure that where the eye is placed on this side is exactly where it is on that side. And you could check it from the beak and your ruler and get it over here and see how far back you are here, and then do the same thing from the beak on this side in this view to see if you have the eye at the same distance. They both should end up as the same. So here we have the beak line coming back, like I said, and I'm going to measure from the eye. We're going to come up 1/8 of an inch, and I'm making a perpendicular line, perpendicular line to that vertical line. And then I'm going to draw that and parallel the beak line going back like that, okay? Now, we said we were making a 4mm eye. So to get the 4mm eye, we come down 2 meters and we go up 2 meters and out 2 meters each way. And then that gives you a 4mm eye, okay? So that's how you get that, and you can draw that. It doesn't have to be perfect yet, because we're gonna drill it with a bit, and that should get you there. Or if you have a drill, you could do it that way too. Now, I'm going to measure from here, which is the center line of the eye, and I'm going to measure back 5/8 like I did on the other side, and put a dot right there. I'm making a parallel line or a perpendicular line to your beak line. This gets a little tricky here, okay? So this and this should be parallel to each other. And then we said from here down, we measured 3/8. So we're gonna measure down 3/8, and I put a dot there. Now here we go again. Here's the beak line. I'm gonna make a parallel line going forward. Or you can come to this point here and measure down 1/4 of an inch, or from the center down 3/8, and draw that rectangle. Here we are again. Once we get the rectangle, then what I'm gonna ask you to do is we're arcing, almost making it round. And then this will be a tangent point back at this point here. And then we're scooting around. Now, here's the bottom of the beak over here. So that line of action comes right on over and joins us right onto that line, okay? So we have that established on both sides here. What you're going to find out later, that there's more material that has to be taken out on this side than it is. This is probably closer, and that's typical because we turned ahead. Now, the other dimension I'm going to ask you to measure also is from the tip of the beak lay my ruler down because we're going to do a, what's in it? Lay down dimension is what I call it. We're laying it right onto the wood. From the tip of the beak up, we're going to come up 1.25 inches, and we're going to put a dot right there. And just like we have this eye center line reference, I'm going to make this also perpendicular. And don't have to go far, and keep it light because it's just reference. Now, what I'm trying to establish is there's an inner side to this head, and then this is the cheek area, which is lower, which is the outside of the head. So here's what I do. I come out 1/4 inch from here and measure out and put a dot 1/4 inch out. And then from here, 1/4 inch out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this here. It's like it's sort of arcing all the way, and then when it gets almost to the eyes, it starts to do a straightaway going back, but it goes wide still though. So I'm going to start right in the middle of the beak, where the beak joined the head, right here. I'm going to spin this around. I'm going to come through that 1/4 inch out and back. Okay? And I'm going to keep this flowing outward a little bit more past this point. Okay? Maybe 1/4 inch. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. You want to make this look symmetrical. So I'm going to try to mimic exactly what I have on this side over on this side. And I'm coming, and it's flaring out still a little bit. Okay? Like that. Now, the outside one is 7/16. So I came over and I measured from the center out at that same point that we measured back. I'm going to come out 7/16, which is this number right here, and I'm going to put a dot right there, and I'm going to come out from here 7/16. Everything's symmetrical about this center line. Now, this is not going to come right up to that point. It's going to be back a little bit. You can see this starts right about here. So I'm going to flare out here and not right at the point. And I'm going to come around here, hit that 7/16, and then flare out a little bit like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come off of here, right about here, and then I flare out, and I am really close to the edge on this one, which is fine, okay? And this comes out and back like that. So you should have this configuration on here right now, okay? So let me check to see where we're at time-wise, and then I'm going to probably do a little bit more, and if not, we'll make it into the next video. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my rotary tool, and I am going to get, let's see what size this is. This is a little smaller. I'll go with the smaller one right now. Usually I use a 4mm ball, but I'm using something a little bit smaller than that. I'm going to be using what was originally a diamond bit, but it's been used so many times. It's like a burnisher. I'm going to use this as a drill for the eye, and I'm going to push this. But see this line of action right in here? That center line that went across, and it matches to the eye on the other side. I want to use that as a gauge. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drill in, and to make sure I'm heading in the right direction, I want to follow that line, but I'm going into the wood rather than, above it. I'm going right into it. So I'm trying to drill that hole. And the other thing I need to do, I need to get this burned deep enough so it goes all the way up to this inner line here. Okay, so watch me here. I'm going to get this. And I get a starter going. And then what really happens is it burns its way in. Okay? So I'm going to gauge to see if you want to try to check it out. You can get your bit, stick it in the hole, and see where it's at on the, that's hot, on the outside. And I'm good enough. I'm in that hole far enough that I got into that, past this pencil line here, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So here we go. And again, watch your angle now, because this face is really sloping. So I'm going to ask you to follow that line above, but you're looking at it as if like you're, get it started. So you got a pilot hole going, and then you're drilling into that. And there's you probably got to go a little longer in here, because there's more material from the outside here to that inner line. Okay. So now that we have that, we have the eyes drilled out, and hopefully we're right on top of each other. The eyes are here and here, and we should be lined up on both sides. Okay, that is the trick. You don't want one eye forward and one eye back. I was a judge one time when somebody was competing, and a lot of times they look to see if the eyes are lined up. And one guy did a beautiful carving, except that he had one eye forward and not one eye back. Until I looked from the top down, you didn't notice that. So things I'm trying to get you to be aware of along the way here. Now, I'm going to get a pear, and I'm going to shape a little bit here. I'm going to do a little bit on one side, but we're going to do the same for both. So I got a ruby pear, and what I'm going to do, and let me do this too, I'm going to continue. This is that center line that went through the eye that paralleled the beak line, okay? And I'll do it on both sides here, so it goes out like that. So I'm going to lay the bit right on that line, and I'm going to go straight back with it. I'm making a channel. I don't want to go onto the beak, so make sure that you can see where the beak stops and starts right here. You don't want to go onto that, but you want to lay that right in there. And then I'm going to take this straight on back like that. I hope you can see some of the depth I had in here. I need to get this channel depth to that pencil line down here though. See, right now we can see that pencil line here, but when we look this way, we want to go deep enough to reach that line, okay, down here. So I'm going to go back again. Now, if you notice your eye may be disappearing, then you may want to drill it again if you didn't drill it deep enough, okay? But I'm going to look at this and look at the back here, and if I put my pencil into that channel, I'm getting close to that pencil line, the inner line, okay? So I'm stopping there. So let me do this. I'm going to draw that line back in again. It came straight back. And then we had this coming around here like this, which is what I call the cheek area, and then it was coming up to here. So what I'm going to do now is on the back side where this thing curves around, I'm going to undercut this side and bring it up to here. So watch me on this one. I'm undercutting, leaving the pencil on there. I didn't lose it. It's still there. I'm just cutting on the outside of that pencil line, and I'm making a channel. I'm undercutting that all along here, like this. Okay, and be gentle when you get up to close to the front, because again, you don't want to hit the beak. If you noticed, I'm a distance away from that line, but I'm going to bring it right up to that line. Okay, now, let me just heavy everything up so you can see it. Here's the center line of the eye. Here's where the cheek started to form, and it came around here, and it comes up here. Now, see all this channel, because you get like a double edge. You get one that is up on the pencil line, and then you got all of this out here. I'm going to ask you to blend this back so that this edge disappears. Now watch me on this. I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to blend it away back into the body. I'm not trying to take a lot of material out. I just want to blend it away. And that is even back here. So take your time on this. You don't want to see any remnant of a channel edge that may have been left. You have to blend the material away. This cheek will start looking like it's popping out, and that's what we want. And again, we don't want to come on to the beak, okay? I'm going to stop short of the beak. So I blend all the material back nicely because I don't want any edges. We don't have to have this perfect, but we want to get it pretty close and smooth. We can sand this out afterwards, but right now we want to get that second edge out of there, and I can see a little bit of it right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come forward between the beak and this area here, and I'm going to bring this channel up and around without touching the beak, okay? I'm going to lay this in here, and be careful. And you just want to go in a little bit. You still want that lip where the beak stops and the head starts. There's a little lip. I just want to go up into that area like that, if you can see it. Okay? Now, here's what we have. We have this line going all the way around. Okay. And it comes around here, and it goes up here. Now, here's the approach I'm going to take. This line also comes forward here. Now, I want to round this. I'm going to take a 45-degree chamfer with my bit, and I'm going to go all the way around. And if need be, you can actually run a line down below here at the bottom and come up. And if it's helpful to you here too, rather than the upper one. And you want to make sure that that line disappears when I circle this around. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And what my goal is the cheek area is right here that I want, it's going to be high. And then once I get to the back of the eye here, everything is sloping up to the beak. And I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to take a 45-degree chamfer, and I'm going into that channel, and I'm just smoothing this out to the point that I start losing that pencil line out there. Just take your time. And I'm taking the high point of the cheek down. And what you end up with is almost like an edge right in the middle here. But let me also say to you, and let me put that edge in there. If I did this right. Yeah, I still feel an edge down here. I didn't get it all. So, but you'll end up with like an edge going right through there if you do it right. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to make sure that bottom pencil line starts disappearing. Again, always pay attention not to go onto your beak, okay? So I think I got that down nicely all the way around there. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to soften this so there's a nice rollover from here to here. And I'm doing very little with the bit. Now, from the back of the eye, right here, I want to slope everything up to the beak without going onto the beak. So here we go. I'm going to lower all the material nicely. You don't want a big transition in here. You want this to blend off back here. So I'm trying to come in and get that like so. So what you have when we get done is all this in here is rolling over this way. This becomes a high point. And we may adjust this too. This may be too high, and I'll show you how to do that on the next video, but I wanted to get you this far. This is rounded this way. All the material is blended this way, and you're tapering up to the beak, but you don't want to go onto the beak. And what I mean by that is here's your action line for the beak, and you want to stay shy of that, but watch how close I can get when I come in. I'm going to come in pretty close, but I still want to stay short of the beak. Okay, so if you look in there, you can see how this thing's shaping, but everything is rounded off. Okay, so for this portion, I'm going to ask you if you could get this done, and let me put these marks in. If you can get all this done, and then on the next video, I'm going to show you how to reduce the upper half. But in the meantime, not only do you do this, you want to do this side, okay? And I'll have this done. It's the exact same thing. You're sending the pear through the channel, right on the line. Then once you get off that line, I want you to, on this back part, even if you have to draw it in again, this portion here, because you're going to lose some of it as it pulls back, I want you to undercut along the line here, leaving the line from here back and up to here on. But you take that down, and then I want you to do exactly what we did here, where we undercut it, blended all the material away, and that's what you want to do. And then you'll come in and you're going to roll on a chamfer all the way down. You can put a pencil mark at the bottom when you undercut, and then you can, as you take it around, you can see the pencil line disappearing on the bottom as you take that 45-degree angle chamfer, and then you end up with a line here. Then you soften that out, and then you blend this forward. Now I'm looking at mine a little bit, and I could actually take this down a little bit more, so I'm going to do that just to show you. Okay, And that's where I'd like you to be on both sides. And then on the next video, we will really make the head pop out. But make sure you blend things off and you just don't stop in the middle of things here and have a big valley, you know, and you got to blend everything off nicely. So I hope you got something out of this video, and if you will, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And if you'd subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate that too. And then what we'll do is we're going to reduce the upper part of this head, and I'll show you how to do that on the next video. So see you on the next video, and thanks again. Bye now.